part 2 of mastering the big stick. Let's get right into it, right? So we've already established our setup. Our setup is good to go. No problems with our setup, right? So how do we start the swing? How do we get the swing going, right? You have to have a trigger. Every swing has to have some type of trigger that makes us move into our backswing, right? So what is that, right? So what I like to do is when I'm set up, I'm ready to go, right? I like to kind of just slightly, you might not even see it, right? Slightly push down with my back heel, okay? My trail heel, and that kind of gets me going into the swing, all right? So I'll be right here, and I kind of just push down just ever so slightly into my backside, which really gets my swing going. So that's my trigger. So we want to make sure that we are not sliding and swaying in the swing, okay? We don't want to start the swing and move all of our weight on this side like this and getting our hip outside of our feet, okay? Or on the downswing, we don't want to do that either, okay? So we want to make sure that we are rotating, right? Big key here is we want to make sure we are rotating around a circle, okay? Everything in life is circles and circles and circles, all right? And the golf swing is no different. It's all about circles. We want to establish in our backswing, going into the backswing, this triangle here, okay? Now, we want to keep our arms and our body connected for as long as possible throughout the swing, all right? So I'm a firm believer in a really solid one-piece takeaway, okay, where our body and our arms are all moving together and we're keeping this triangle in place as long as we can, okay? Now, once we get to the, when the club is parallel to the ground, we want to make sure that the angle of the club head, is pretty much on the same angle as our spine angle, okay? That's how we know we're pretty much on plane with the swing, all right? So this has to stay relatively close to what our spine angle is. Not like this or not, you know, falling over like this, right? Probably about right up in there. Once we get our lead arm parallel to the ground, we want to make sure that stays as straight as possible, okay? Now, for me, I don't keep it as straight as possible. There's a slight bend in my elbow, just a little bit, right? But our objective is to create the biggest arc, the biggest circle that we can, because the bigger the circle, the more club head speed that we can generate throughout the swing. The other really, really key thing here in the entire swing is our elbows. We want to make sure that these two elbows stay about the same distance away from each other throughout the entire swing, okay? So when we start moving into our backswing, okay, when we get all the way to the top of the swing, all right, we get all the way to the top of the swing, our elbows are relatively the same distance away from each other, all right? Throughout coming down the downswing, they're about the same distance away from each other, and throughout the entire follow through, they'll stay in that same position, right? We don't want to get up to the top here and start doing this, okay? No, okay? We don't want to do that. We want to keep this elbow pointing straight down my jacket seam here for as long as possible. Now, what do we do when we get to the top of the backswing? We want to pause. Why do we want to pause? Because the entire downswing, the transition between the backswing and the downswing, the entire downswing starts from our feet up. So we want to give the club just a slight opportunity just to kind of levitate up there and just hang out while we start to move and transition into the front side of our swing, into our lead leg, all right? So once we get to the top here, okay, we're gonna pause just for a quick second. I mean, when you watch it on video, you probably won't even see a pause, right? But if you were to go through it, you'll probably feel like, oh my gosh, the club's just sitting up there, just hanging up there. Don't worry, okay? We get up here, we pause just for a quick second, right? And then we start to come down onto this front leg as much as we possibly can, all right? And remember, We're not swaying. So this leg has to start moving backwards, back behind us, back behind us, okay? Now, once this leg has moved back behind us and we've gotten most of our weight onto this front side, the club head and your hands are still up here, hanging out, okay? So I don't want you to ever feel like you're pulling down or you're forcing your arms through the swing. I want you to feel like, okay, I've transitioned to my front side and my body is going to take over and move myself into impact position, okay? It's not the forcing of the hands down like this, okay? So we're in this way here, and you get up top here, I want you to feel like this right elbow just comes straight down, okay? And starts riding the side of your body, okay? This right elbow, what I've noticed through tons of watching other people play and teaching other people is that this right elbow is the key. It's one of the huge keys to the entire swing, okay? If you can get the right elbow right, a lot of everything else takes care of itself, okay? So come down, keep that right elbow as close to your body as possible, and start riding your abdomen. That right elbow should be touching or grazing across your body right here throughout the downswing. We are coming down into impact, okay? So we're here, we're about right here, we're transitioned all the way over, we got our right elbow tucked in, okay? Now, what is the next step between here and impact? That step is body rotation, right? It's not a flipping of the hands. That's not going to work, okay? It may work every once in a while. You may be able to turn your hands over really fast and hit a big bomb down the fairway, but probably the next five or six tee shots, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work, right? Because this between here and here, between this area, the hitting zone, it's like a nanosecond. It's like probably a fifth of a second, right? So you can't control your hands that fast. It's impossible, you know. Maybe some pros can do that. I don't know. But normal human beings, it's very, very difficult to do that, right? So we want to control this club head with our body, right? And once we come into contact, that is when we gather the ball on the club face, okay? And we're going to release out to the target, okay? Remember, the ball is just in the way of the club head. The ball is just in the way of the club head. So we're gathering, then we're releasing out to our target, down our target line, all right? So I don't want you guys to get too concerned about the hands flipping over and all that kind of stuff, right? If you have a great, really strong grip with loose wrists, that'll happen just automatically, okay? So don't get too twisted about all that. So now that we're in impact, the ball is hit. We want to keep our head behind the ball, okay, at impact. Now, how do we get into our follow through? Okay, so we contact here, right? I want you guys to think about keeping this right shoulder down throughout the entire follow through, okay? So just like a hockey player would come through and hit the ball like this, like a hockey player would, okay, with the hockey stick. We want it, and this right shoulder is down. I want you to have that same type of feeling coming through impact and into our follow through so that we are here, okay? I don't want you to be so much standing straight with straight shoulders at the end of your follow through. I kind of want you to still be in this position here at the end of our follow through with the club wrapped around pretty much our neck, okay? So what that's going to do is that's going to really keep us moving through the ball and keeping this right elbow down and into our side. And that angle right there is like a really, really good impact angle. And I want you to maintain that angle all the way through. Okay, so maintain that particular angle with the right shoulder down, the trail shoulder down, for as long as you possibly can. Okay, all the way through. Let's kind of rehash just a little bit. All right, so we want to start, first of all, we want to have our good setup. Okay, so we want to start it with some type of trigger. And that doesn't have to be pushing down like, with the right heel. That can be just something that you have to get everything started and moving, right? Because a lot of times you're in a static position, but I would prefer you guys to be in movement before you hit the ball. So you would be kind of moving a little bit, waggling the club a little bit, just getting this movement right. And then boom, I step down and start moving everything back behind me. All right. Now, once we get to club parallel to the ground, we want to make sure that we have a good angle on the club like that, which matches our spine angle, making sure that we create the biggest circle we can by keeping this left arm as straight as possible, making sure that our elbows stay pretty much the same distance away from each other throughout the entire swing, making sure that our right elbow drops down naturally, okay, not pulls down, drops down naturally straight down our inseam. We don't want this, we want this, right? And then when we come through impact, we got to continue to work this right elbow into our body, into impact, right? Impact should be, you should feel like it's not my arm swinging. My arms are turned off, okay? It's my body swinging into impact, all right? Follows through should be all about this right shoulder where we come through and we keep this right shoulder low, right? And the biggest thing here is when we start the downswing, before we start the downswing, I want to pause and I want you to get to this front side, okay? You get to this front side, not by swaying into the front side, but by moving this hip, moving this butt cheek behind you, okay? That's behind you. I'm not doing this, I'm doing this, okay? And keeping this right shoulder low, coming through impact, okay? So look, I hope all of that helps you guys out a ton. My name is Chris Graves. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. That's the only way you'll see what's coming up next. And I love you guys. See you in the next episode.